When it comes to the world of gaming creepypastas, which is your favorite? Maybe it's something popular like Lavender Town Syndrome or Ben Drowned. Maybe it's a little less known like Kill Switch or A1RU. But I can say with certainty, it's probably not Sonic.exe. Sonic.exe, as most of you may know, was not a good story. Dare I say, it was really bad. So bad that for a lot of people, they were turned away from Sonic horror content altogether. And it sucks, because there are a lot of good pieces of fan-made Sonic media out there that utilize horror. You've got the new wave of creepypasta games from the past 4 years or so, the large catalog of YouTube content, good YouTube content that is, the content farms have never let go of that blue roadkill. And of course, the medium that creepypastas all started on, the stories themselves. Now, I'm not saying all non-Sonic.exe Sonic creepypastas are good, god no. There was this one Tales-style creepypasta where Shigeru Miyamoto seals him into a GameCube game like he was using the Mafaba. Actually, that goes hard, never mind. But there are a decent amount of Sonic creepypastas out there that are pretty good. There's the more well-known ones like Starved and El Pendrive Azul, but there's one that I rarely hear talked about that I actually really liked. It might even be one of my favorite Sonic creepypastas out there, and that would be Sonic 3 Hacked Cartridge. And let me just mention, there is not a drop of blood in this story, so to those EXE phobes out there, eat your heart out. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 Hacked Cartridge was written by, I think, BlueChe01 in 2014. I could be completely wrong, but that was the only information I could find about the author online. You could tell me Steph Curry wrote this and I couldn't argue with you. This story is relatively unknown outside of people who love Sonic horror content or who watched Some Ordinary Gamers back in the day like me. In fact, the most viewed video about this story is a re-upload of said Some Ordinary Gamers video. Also a retake on the story by Seath, but that's technically not the same thing. And that's a bit saddening because this is honestly a pretty solid story. My favorite creepypastas are the ones that have a chance of maybe happening in reality. Keyword chance. That's part of why I liked El Pendrive Azul so much, another creepypasta devoid of the blue bloody bastard. So today, just like Pendrive, I want to go over the whole story of Sonic 3 Hacked Cartridge and talk about why I like it so much. For those of you who are sensitive to one of the following subjects, evil, ROM hack, Sally Acorn, or the color green, you might want to click off here. So, without further ado, let's dive into one of my favorite haunted gaming creepypastas, Sonic 3 Hacked Cartridge. If you want to read the story for yourself, you can read it with the link in the description. Also, similar to what I did with the last Sonic creepypasta I talked about, I did indeed record myself reading the whole thing on my second channel. Link is in the top right, also in the description and in your thoughts and prayers. Let's talk some spooky ROM hacks, shall we? We start off the story with our protagonist, actually she doesn't have a name. Let's call her Mildred. Mildred starts off by explaining how her and her friend like Sonic the Hedgehog. They aren't super fans, no, but rather casual fans. Remember this for later, by the way. Her friend was in a super religious family, so no video games or phones or barely any TV or anything like that. The only time he could indulge in gaming was at Mildred's house. Oh, also he doesn't have a name either. Let's call him Clifford. These people are college age, by the way. I'm just choosing old people names cause it's funny. Anyways, Clifford's off to a college in Europe soon, and he wants to do some gaming one last time before he heads off for school. Mildred, being the great friend that she is, agrees to game with him. Of course, that's after she calls him annoying, and talkative, and pestering, and claims that she only caved, but she's a good friend, I swear. Clifford wanted to play none other than Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and you know what? Absolutely banger choice for a last game. Mildred was reluctant though, as she was kinda sick of the game at this point, but despite that, the playdate was arranged. Her words, not mine. A few unfortunate events occur, like a raven randomly crashing into her windshield, and later on, it turns out that she no longer even had functioning copies of Sonic 3 or Sonic and Knuckles. Mildred hopped into her raven-phobic car, which is a really funny thing to say, and drove from thrift store to thrift store, trying to track down some new copies. As someone who's been frequenting thrift stores since I was a kid, I can tell you this is the least effective way to find video games, let alone Genesis games, let alone good Genesis games. Mildred found both copies for about 18 bucks and a coupon for free coffee. It worked! That's gotta be the least believable part of this story. The last game I found at a thrift store was Monopoly Casino. Anyways, Mildred hauled ass back to her apartment, where her friend arrived soon after for some hypersonic action. But in retrospect, it was the dumbest thing she could have done. Yeah, I'm sure you'd feel like that. You shit on your friend for a solid paragraph. Let the man be excited about lock-on technology for Pete's sake. Actually, on second thought, this guy might be a bit too excited. With the console ready, it was finally time to play Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Everything was pretty normal. Until it wasn't! The game started off with very minor differences. Things like Tails not being in the tornado during the opening cutscene, the music sounded different, just some very tiny differences. This didn't stop Mildred from being absolutely fucking livid. This was one of my biggest issues with the story. She got unreasonably mad over absolutely everything. I get finding out the games you just bought were ROM hacks isn't great, but feeling anger crash through you like a hurricane? You might want to talk to someone, Mildred. Also, she said, gently used my honey-coated ass. Who has ever said that in the history of words and sentences? She decided to bite back her seething rage and let Clifford continue to play. More little differences showed up, like Tails being absent from the gameplay and a new greenish color to the whole game. But it's only when Sonic entered into the special stage did things go from normal ROM hack to evil ROM hack. Also, the story starts showing in-game screenshots from this point forward, which is a really nice addition to this creepypasta. It really helps you envision in your mind what this game would look like. I mean, we all know Sonic fans can't read without pictures. Why do you think they made a whole game for us teaching you how to read? A cutscene plays within the Shrine of the 7 Super Emeralds, which, if you know Sonic 3 and Knuckles, is quite a jump forward in the game. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles all just turn and nod for a minute, and then the first Super Emerald is obtained. Weirdness aside, at least Tails was playable in the game again, albeit cold. Oh god, don't let this be one of those Mario's a sociopath, Sonic for hire moments, I beg of you. Mildred feels unsettled by this, but she decides to just let him continue the game. I mean, it's not like anything too crazy has happened yet, right? Is that fucking Sally Acorn? So, in the next special world, the Sonic character Sally Acorn appears out of nowhere. Once again, if you are not familiar with Sonic 3 and Knuckles, this just doesn't happen. This is like if you were playing Super Mario World, there was just a random cutscene that wasn't there before, where Daisy pops up or something. Mildred's also quick to point out that it's not Sally's normal design, but the one used in her first appearance in the Sonic comics. Wait, didn't she say she wasn't a big Sonic fan? I'm sorry, no casual fan knows something like that. Nice try, Mildred. Anyway, Sally runs to Knuckles' side, which I guess made Sonic mad because he rushed forward after this, but gets punched back by Knuckles. And Tails just looks really uncomfortable during all of this. Of course, Mildred sees the biggest issue at hand. Hold on a second, Sally is Sonic's girl, not Knuckles. I'd be a little more worried of the green ooze taking over your game, but that's just me, I guess. The two casual hardcore Sonic fans shake it off and continue, collecting another Super Emerald, and then getting another cutscene. It's the one in Sonic 3 where Robotnik sets everything on fire, but instead it's Sally? Sally's the bad guy? Text saying, "Are you satisfied?" comes on screen, as green flames engulf everything. As this happens, the game freezes and a single monotone note plays. Now, I'm not exactly sure how the game did this, but it made Mildred physically ill. Clifford is finally concerned as he asks her, "Hey, is this supposed to happen?" But of course, he's immediately cut off by the game unfreezing, and Mildred never answers him. You can answer him, man. It's not like the game paralyzed you or anything. That would have required a completely different Evil Sonic game. Mildred debates ending the whole thing right now, but out of loyalty for the friend she hates, they push onward. I mean, I get this is a really weird experience, but getting unfathomably angry and physically ill might have been a bit much for a shitty ROM hack you got for like $18. The game continued and they eventually reached the final Super Emerald. Messages began to fade onto screen. Was it worth it? Was she worth it? In the walls. Under the floors. And then the Super Emerald got really big, like comically big in fact. And now it's saying the mighty will fall? Pfft, my goat would never. Another one of those weird Sally cutscenes play, but this time it's a bit more serious than before. Knuckles is on the ground as Sonic tries to attack Sally, but Tails is like, hey, she doesn't like that, and then he gets knocked down by Sonic. Before Sonic can get Sally too, Knuckles gets back up and hits him. Screen cuts to black, and now the game's all the way back to the first level. Clifford is understandably confused and a bit upset by this new revelation. And Mildred totally should have turned the console off by this point. But they were also about to get hypersonic, so I get why they didn't. After the two gamers unlock hypersonic, Mildred finally relaxes for a second. She sighs a lot in this story, by the way. But that sigh of relief goes right back up her schnoz as Sally one-taps hypersonic, and then the game cuts to black. Damn, Sally can just no-diff hypersonic? Someone go edit the Versus wiki. Clearly they don't have their facts straight. The text, "You can't escape," pops up as the level resets one more. One more? I meant to say one more time. The level's just ever so slightly different this time around. There's a bit more green, a bit more yellow, and of course, the floor is made of undulating Sallys in pain. As Sonic moves through the stage, the Sallys warp and bend with his movements. The screen reads, "Here lies Princess Sally Anderson. Her royal majesty now sleeps in the most unconventional of graves." Clifford is losing his goddamn mind at this point, and our oh-so-brave protagonist Mildred finally decides to do something smart and goes to turn off the game. But because God forbid they do something else instead, Clifford stops her and wants to continue on. Literally, play anything else besides the game that's making your friend puke, man. Mildred's all like, You really want to go on with this? And Clifford's like, even if this is some messed up shit, this is our last night together. We gotta see how it ends. It's a Sonic the Hedgehog fan game. Why are you acting like you're about to shoot up heroin? As Sonic moves onward and the Sallys grasp and reach for him, they come to a standstill. Every Sonic character is just there staring at him. Tails, Knuckles, Amy, the Chaotix, which have their 32X sprites for some reason. The characters follow Sonic as he walks on, before they disappear with text on the screen now reading, "She was mine, you said." As Sonic tried to run away, he finally got command grabbed by the Sallys in the ground. Force Ghost Sally appears in front of Sonic in the craziest scene in the game. Sonic attacks Sally multiple times, drags her away, and then eventually he gets dragged underground by the undulating Sallys and dies. All while these two sentences keep flashing on the screen over and over. Under the floors, in the walls. Sonic was fine though, I mean, he had 2 lives left after all. The game crashes, Mildred finally turns off the console, immediately goes to puke, and this whole ordeal is finally over. Fast forward a month, Mildred's back to normal life while Clifford is trapped in the UK or something. She decided to throw up a post about the game on a gaming forum that she frequented, because she's a hardcore gamer, not a hardcore Sonic fan, don't get that wrong. Mildred quickly got a reply from some random account. They didn't really have much insight on the story, but they did send her a friend request which she accepted. Turns out the user had made a hack with their friends similar to the one Mildred described. They gave her this whole rundown about how it was like a framing of Sonic, and he had to prove his innocence. I'm not sure if that's how I would describe what I just saw, but sure, that could fit. Obviously, Mildred tells them that was not their cartridges, and proves it by giving more detail. The user now wants to join a chat room, which like, do not join that? But of course, Mildred joins that. She waits for a while before the whole situation kinda spirals out of control as she begins to get message after message. You have my cartridges. You have my cartridges and I want them back. Give me your address, I can pick them up. You weren't meant to see what you saw. My friends ended up taking those cartridges after we fell out and stopped the project. They must have hacked them behind my back before returning them. They weren't meant to be sold to the stores. I sold the wrong copies. Give me your address so I can swap copies. I have ones that aren't corrupt. I'll just give them to you for free. Hello? Hello? Are you there? Hurry up and give me your address. Give it to me! Give me your fucking address! I'm sorry for yelling, but seriously though, give me your address. I can explain everything. Just give me your address. Now, give me your address. Where do you live? Tell me where you fucking live! Mildred very wisely does not tell the creator of Green Sonic where she lives, and instead rushes to Google Sally Anderson, the same name prominent within the ROM hack. Articles pop up about a missing person by the same name from her town. Mildred decides to give the user a taste of their own medicine and begins to start spamming a singular message. Who is Sally Anderson? To which the user responds, Sally Anderson is mine. Mildred, understandably, proceeds to block the ever-loving shit out of the user, rip her computer from the wall, and then pace back and forth in her apartment for like 10 hours. A week passes as she finally decides to re-plug in her PC to contact good old Clifford, but when she opens her email, she's met with something else. A singular email titled, Found You. She begins to read out loud. I found you. I know you live in those mediocre apartments off of Anderson Street. I know you work at that sad fucking excuse of a printing shop off 3rd Street in May. I know that you go to Pauline's Coffee at 6 a.m. before you go to work, and at 2 p.m. after you get off. I know you drink cappuccinos with heavy liquid creamer, extra sugar with 3 sticks of cinnamon. I know that the car you drive is a blue 2000 Honda Civic with a large crack in the windshield. I know your plate number is AUK278 and that you have a Little Tails bobblehead on your dashboard. I know you graduated from Thompson High School in 2011. I know where you go, when you go, what you do, and when you do it. No matter where you run, no matter where you hide, I'll be right there, right around the corner. And then you'll join her. You'll join her. And then you'll be mine, too. Use the F-bomb much? Swearing doesn't make you cool, tough guy. Mildred's about to get fucking slaughtered, isn't she? Mildred rushes to lock the door, calls the police, which, thank God, someone in one of these stories finally does, and hides in her room with a knife. Those fateful words still echoing in her head until the end of the story. In the walls, under the floors. I'm still wondering why the game was so green it made her puke, but I guess that's okay. Leave some things up to interpretation or whatever, I don't care. And that marks the end of Sonic 3 Hacked Cartridge, probably one of my favorite Sonic creepypastas. But first off, let me clarify, this was by no means perfect. For one, the protagonist is just not written that great. She gets mad and scared and annoyed at like every little thing that happens in her life, even when it's completely unreasonable. Not referring to the end when I say that, that seems somewhat reasonable to get upset about. Clifford's whatever, he's just kinda there and then he gets sealed away in Europe for 1,000 years or something. The ROM hack didn't really correlate to the whole Sally Anderson murder thing at times either. I still don't really get why everything was all green and yellow and sickly. And lastly, a big issue with a lot of older creepypastas, it just was not written well. A lot of run-on sentences, unnecessary details and explanations, and very wonky sentence structure. I don't want to harp on that too hard, in case it was someone younger who wrote it, but reading this for my second channel, it was not the easiest at times. To my fellow writers out there, punctuation is your best friend. Enough being a negative Nancy though, let's be a constructive Clifford, shall we? One of the things that I liked the most was the concept. It wasn't an evil haunted game, it wasn't the devil taking over Sonic to kill Clifford and friends. It was just a really weird and creepy ROM hack someone accidentally stumbled across. Something like this has even the tiniest chance of happening in real life. I mean, all it takes is for me to donate one copy of a Sonic EXE game to Goodwill, disguised as Sonic Superstars or something, and bam, a real-life creepypasta has been born. That's one thing I like about this story and other gaming creepypastas as well, is when they're not entirely out of the realm of possibility. Sure, a haunted Sonic game with a demon possessing it might be a little bit scary, but it's never going to happen to me. However, a weird Sonic fan game that could possibly give you a seizure, entirely possible. In fact, that's just an average weekend on Game Jolt for me. Now, I very much doubt a serial killer would make a Sonic ROM hack and then it would be donated to a thrift store, but it's something that isn't impossible. Speaking of the killer, or the user, or Doxing Dan, or whatever their name is, that's another aspect I enjoyed a lot. It's just a slightly unsettling concept that this deranged person made a whole game about the atrocity they committed so they could keep reliving it over and over again. And that ending, unironically, it was the only part of the story that creeped me out just a little. Opening your email one day to find out that a supposed serial killer knows how many cinnamon sticks you put in your coffee? That's just GG's at that point. What do you even do? Now, why did the user make their game so cryptic? And why did their friend take it and donate it? I'm not sure, but look guys, giant super emerald! Also, the fact that screenshots were made, no matter how silly, to accompany the story was a great addition. Reminds me of stories like Godzilla NES or I Hate You, where the screenshots really enhance the story and their memorability. Overall, I'm aware this is a goofy creepypasta from the 2010s. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that I'm gonna pass this down to my kids and grandkids, but for a unique and creepy Sonic horror story, I really enjoyed this. I hope it gets more attention in the future. Hell, this game doesn't even have a fan game made about it yet. Game devs Oldham77 and Not So Devi are apparently working on one as I make this video, but who knows if we'll ever truly get a playable version of Sonic 3 Hacked Cartridge. Since you can't actually experience the game yourself, I'm gonna make you really feel like you're playing Sonic 3 Hacked Cartridge. I'll turn my room all green and scary, just like the story. I think the color is seeping into my bloodstream.